Success, as I have told you time and time again, does not bend for the man who quits. It does not show itself to the man who walks away from his own decisions. It bows only to the individual who forces himself to continue, not when it's convenient, not when it's simple, but when it is most difficult, when every part of him wants to give up. Because true persistence is not an act of ease. It is a deliberate and violent overthrow of the weak self. It is the most noble form of self-discipline, the refusal to let circumstances decide who you are. Now, I want you to listen carefully. The great test of your life is not whether you can get started, it is whether you will keep going when everything becomes uncertain. That is the line where most men stop. They call it burnout, they call it wisdom, they call it timing. But in truth, it is nothing more than surrender. And if you surrender once, you will surrender again. You are building a relationship with resistance. You are training your mind to interpret struggle as a signal to stop rather than a sign to press forward. What you do when you don't feel like continuing, that's the real measurement of your potential. That's the dividing line between those who say they want something and those who are willing to prove it. The proof isn't found in your plan. It's not in your ambition. It's in your movement. Do you take the next step when the feeling is gone? Do you carry the vision when it gets heavy? Do you remain committed even when no one is watching? You cannot afford to live by emotion. You cannot afford to wait for conditions. The man who waits is a man who wastes. And the man who wastes time, energy, and discipline for the sake of temporary comfort loses the very thing that would have given his life power. Your life becomes power only when it is controlled by principle, not feeling. And the principle is this: you made a decision, and now you must honor it regardless of how long it takes, how difficult it feels, or how quiet it gets. You may say, "I'm tired." You may say, "Nothing is working." But I ask you this: how do you measure progress? Do you measure it only by results? Do you measure it only by outcomes? Because if so, you will always stop when the result delays. But the man of persistence understands something deeper. He knows the soil takes time. He knows the harvest does not appear just because the seed was planted. He is not discouraged by silence. He is not shaken by delay. He knows that time is not his enemy. It is his test. Most men misunderstand the nature of pressure. They see it as a barrier. But pressure is a gift. It is the proof that you are moving forward. It is the fire that hardens your identity. Every time you face it and keep going, you gain something no man can give you, a deeper trust in yourself. You begin to look in the mirror and see someone who does not waver, someone who does not fold, someone who can be trusted by himself. And that trust is everything. That trust gives you clarity. That trust gives you courage. Because when you trust yourself, you no longer require perfect plans. You no longer demand easy paths. You no longer wait for ideal timing. You simply execute. You build. You endure. And you do so with your head high. Because you understand that the path to greatness is not paved with comfort, it is paved with consistency. There will be a voice inside you, one that says, "You can stop now." One that whispers, "This is too much." That voice is not your enemy. It is your test. That voice is not here to destroy you. It is here to see if you believe your own commitment, because you will never rise above your ability to stay true to yourself when no one else is holding you accountable. You must learn to be your own standard, your own structure, your own demand. You must become the one who holds yourself to the highest expectation. Because if you do not demand the most from yourself, the world will offer you the least. If you are not willing to discipline yourself, life will do it for you, and its consequences are always more severe than your own. You must push beyond your preference. You must push beyond your comfort. You must push beyond the point where most men stop and say, "That's enough." Because enough is the enemy of achievement. Enough is where dreams die. Enough is where regret is born. You are not here for enough. You are here for the highest version of yourself. And that version is not found in ease, it is found in effort. Sustained, deliberate, unapologetic effort. Force yourself. Force yourself to take one more step when your mind says, sit down. Force yourself to repeat the process again when it looks like nothing is changing. Force yourself to wake up with discipline, not emotion. Force yourself to move, not because it's easy, but because it's required. That is the difference between ordinary men and exceptional ones. Ordinary men live within the boundaries of comfort. Exceptional men expand through discomfort. They force themselves forward, not because they want to, but because they've decided to, and decision is everything. A man who has truly decided no longer looks for options. He no longer questions his path every time the wind shifts. He no longer debates himself. He moves forward with finality. With finality comes focus. And with focus comes force. And with force, the walls that once looked impossible begin to break. But the breaking never happens for the man who quits. If you quit, you teach your subconscious that quitting is a solution. And once it accepts that message, it will feed it to you every time life becomes difficult. But if you train it to see quitting as betrayal, it will stop offering it as a choice. Your mind is your servant, but only if you make it so. If you don't, it becomes your master, and it will guide you down every path of least resistance until your potential is nothing more than theory. But that is not your path. Not anymore, because you are waking up to something higher. You are beginning to understand that the man who finishes is not the one who always had the most motivation, but the one who simply refused to be led by weakness. He mastered his own momentum. He commanded his own action. And because of that, he earned what others only dreamed of. Your next breakthrough will not come because you feel better. It will come because you acted better. Your next level will not come because the world made it easier. It will come because you forced yourself to become stronger. You do not wait for doors to open. You build them. You break them. You become them. That begins now. It begins with the next hour, the next decision, the next act of discipline. It begins the moment you silence the voice that says, you don't have to do this. Because yes, you do. You have to do this if you want peace. You have to do this if you want pride. You have to do this if you want to live a life that does not haunt you. You must move forward, even when it's hard, even when it's lonely, even when you feel nothing changing. Because something is changing. You are. And the man you are becoming will one day thank you for not quitting when it would have been easier, smarter, and safer to walk away. You forced yourself, and that decision changed everything. There is a law as old as time. The man who learns to command himself in the absence of ease will inherit what others only beg for. That law does not favor the man who starts strong. It does not reward the man who speaks loudly. It shows up for the man who finishes. And finishing always demands that you force yourself to continue long after you would have once stopped. You are not here to perform for emotion. You are here to transform into principle. Emotion will tell you it's too late. It will tell you to pause, to wait for the right moment, the right energy, the right signal. Principle tells you none of that matters. Principle commands you to act not because it feels right, but because it is right. And that is the kind of standard that separates temporary progress from permanent transformation. Ask yourself this. When it gets hard, who are you? When it's quiet, when nothing is changing, when the reward seems hidden, who are you then? Because who you are in those moments is who you really are. That's where discipline is proven. That's where identity is forged. And that's where most men fall short, not because they couldn't, but because they never forced themselves to stay long enough to find out what was waiting on the other side. You must learn to override your comfort system. You must interrupt your instinct to slow down when the discomfort begins. because the old you, the weaker self, is programmed to escape challenge. He is conditioned to turn around when uncertainty shows up, and that version of you must be replaced. Replaced not by wishful thinking, not by reading, but by action. Repeated, forceful action. Doing what needs to be done regardless of how it feels. You do this not just once, but over and over again until it becomes your new instinct. That is how the identity is rewritten. You don't change who you are through thought. You change who you are through pattern, through consistency, through movement that defies impulse, through routines that replace excuses. And the only way to build those patterns is to move forward anyway, especially when you don't want to. Because here is what most never understand. Every excuse sounds reasonable when you're tired. Every justification sounds clever when your mind is fogged. And the only weapon you have in those moments is pre-decided discipline. You don't trust the voice of fatigue. You don't follow the logic of fear. You fall back on the decision you already made. I finish everything I start. And that one line, that one vow, can become the foundation for your entire breakthrough. Most people never build that kind of vow. They make deals with their comfort. They allow their feelings to renegotiate their actions. They treat pressure like a reason to pause instead of an invitation to rise. But you must not do that anymore. You are finished with partial effort. You are done with emotional standards. You are now building from something higher, permanent principle. When you live from principle, you are no longer distracted by how long it's taking. You no longer check constantly for results. You simply show up. You simply execute. You simply move forward. And you do it with calm. You do it with clarity. Because you finally decided that your value is not based on whether you feel like working today, it is based on whether you keep your word. And keeping your word to yourself is the beginning of real power. The man who can trust his own decision is a rare man. Because most people lie to themselves all day long. They say they'll start tomorrow. They say they'll stop quitting. They say this time is different. But nothing changes. Why? Because they've trained themselves to break promises to their own mind. But you're no longer one of those men. You are learning to trust yourself again, not through perfection, but through persistence. Not because every day is easy, but because every day you show up anyway. And that act alone begins to build something unstoppable inside you. The understanding that no matter how you feel, no matter what's going on around you, you can be counted on. And that belief in yourself is worth more than gold. Because belief fuels movement. And movement creates results. And results bring more belief. And eventually you reach a point where discipline becomes who you are, not something you try, but something you own. But to get there, you must walk through the fire of inconsistency, the fire of fatigue, the fire of delay, and you must not run. You must not flinch. You must not lower your standard just because it hurts. Because pain is not the enemy, pain is your teacher. The pain of forcing yourself is the pain of shedding the old self, of burning off the laziness, the inconsistency, the weakness. And yes, it is uncomfortable, but the reward is not found in comfort. It is found in mastery, and mastery always lies on the other side of pain. You must learn to breathe in the pressure, to welcome it, to use it, because when most men break under it, you will grow stronger. When others retreat, you will advance. And that mindset alone puts you in a category all your own, because the world is full of starters. It's full of dreamers. It's full of men who say one day. But very few will ever force themselves to continue on the days they don't want to. Very few will grind it out when there is no light, no reward, and no applause. But that's where the greats are born. Not on the stage, not in the spotlight, in the quiet, in the early hours, in the tension, in the middle of fatigue, in the moment where giving up would feel justified, but continuing is chosen instead. You have access to that choice every single day. You may not be able to control how you feel, but you can always control what you do. And if you control what you do long enough, you begin to control how you feel, because discipline begins to reshape your emotion. You start to associate effort with satisfaction. You start to associate difficulty with growth, and that psychological shift changes everything. Now, when struggle shows up, you don't collapse, you lean in. Now, when nothing seems to be happening, you don't panic, you produce. Now, when your mind says stop, you say back, we're not finished yet. And that moment, that reversal of weakness into strength, is when you become the kind of man who no longer has to force himself, because you've made perseverance natural. You've conditioned yourself to move forward, not out of motivation, but out of identity. And once it becomes your identity to never quit, the battle is already won. Because that man, the one who cannot be stopped, doesn't need cheering, doesn't need favorable conditions, doesn't need things to feel perfect. He is driven from the inside, pulled forward by his own commitment. And that force is more powerful than anything life can throw at him. So I ask you in the clearest terms, when will you decide that stopping is no longer an option? When will you become fully unavailable for quitting? When will you declare, in action, not in words, that you are the kind of man who continues no matter what? That decision doesn't come from inspiration. It comes from standard, from pain, from a quiet voice inside you that says, enough games, enough weakness, enough delay. I am the man who finishes, and I will prove it starting now. From that place, everything shifts. Because now, your time is no longer wasted debating. Your energy is no longer lost in second guessing. You don't stall. You don't pause. You move, and as you move, you change. You grow stronger. You grow clearer. You grow faster. You become the kind of man the world cannot ignore, because you have proven through every action that you can be trusted with results, with success, with influence. And it all began with one thing. You forced yourself, and you kept forcing yourself until you no longer had to. The man who finishes is not the one who had the least resistance. He is not the one who had the easiest path. He is the one who said, I will keep going regardless of how I feel. And the longer he walks in that decision, the more he begins to experience something the quitter will never taste: certainty. Certainty is earned, not from knowledge, not from talent, but from follow-through. When you continue beyond the moment when most would stop, something inside you changes. You stop asking if you're the kind of man who will make it. You stop wondering if you have what it takes. You know you do, because you've seen yourself push past the line you once never crossed. That becomes your new identity, not a man who tries, but a man who finishes. Not a man who gets ready, but a man who is always ready. That identity makes you unstoppable, because now your power no longer depends on external motivation. It's been internalized through repetition. And I must repeat this. You become what you practice. If you practice pausing every time pressure rises, you will become fragile. If you practice negotiating with your lesser self, you will become unreliable. But if you practice pushing, if you practice continuing, if you practice doing what you said you would, even when the feeling has left you, then you will become unstoppable. You will become dependable. You will become that rare individual who carries his vision through the fire and never lets go of the rope. You must never forget that this world is designed to distract, to offer you comfort over character, to present escape over excellence. And if you are not rooted in something unshakable, you will drift. You will delay. You will justify. You will quit. So you must become your own anchor. You must become your own force. You must become the one voice in your life that is never silent, The voice that says, number 2, we are not done here. And what happens when you do? When you show up tired, when you show up discouraged, when you show up uncertain but you still show up, you develop a self-respect that no man can give you, no man can take away. That respect is the foundation for long-term greatness, because long-term greatness is not built in sprints. It is built in invisible hours, in repeated effort, in continuing to build even when no one is watching. The man who only moves for approval is the man who will stop when the applause dies. But the man who continues out of integrity, he outlasts them all. You must get used to being alone on the journey, not because you are alone in value, but because you are alone in standard. You will do things others won't. You will repeat when others stop. You will push further when others settle. And in that solitude, something beautiful happens. Your purpose becomes clear. Your pace becomes yours. You no longer look side to side. You no longer compete. You dominate, not others, but your former self. That is the highest form of power, to know that yesterday's version of you could not match today's endurance. That today's version is further, stronger, more focused, and more durable. And if you can do that today, you can do it again tomorrow, and again, until the world begins to shape itself around your effort. Let me be absolutely direct with you. Success is not an accident. It is not a gift. It is not a moment of luck. It is a consequence. It is the result of discipline repeated past the breaking point. It is the reward for those who are willing to suffer with direction, who are willing to burn through excuses until all that remains is movement. And movement, forward movement, is what keeps the vision alive. When you move, you prove. You prove that your vision is not just an idea, but a law you intend to enforce through effort. Effort is the only thing the world respects, and it respects it over time. Anyone can work hard for a day, a week, a season, but what happens when the months stretch out? When the progress slows down? When the victories are rare and the burden is high? The one who forces himself to keep going, he wins. Not because it was fair, but because he was faithful. Not because it was smooth, but because he was steady. Not because he felt strong, but because he acted with strength. It is always that way. You do not wait to feel ready. You act until readiness is created, and that readiness grows through pressure, not ease. Stop asking for relief. Start building resistance. Stop hoping it gets easier. Start preparing to get tougher. Because life will not soften for you, but you can harden for it. You can become the kind of man who is not fazed by obstacles, who does not tremble when plans fall apart, who does not stop to entertain every voice of doubt. You can become the kind of man who hears the storm and keeps walking. Not because the storm is quiet, but because your purpose is louder. And the man whose purpose is louder than his pain, that man becomes unstoppable. Now, I know what you might be thinking. How long do I have to keep going like this? My answer? As long as it takes. If you are still asking how long, then you have not fully decided. Because the man who has decided never asks that question. He already knows. He keeps going until it's finished, until it works, until it's real, until there's no quit left in his bones, until he sees what he committed to in his mind become real in the world around him. There is no other path. There is no shortcut. There is only the way of the builder, the way of the one who refuses to stop. And you were born to be that builder. Every part of you is capable of carrying more than you thought. Your mind is not too weak. Your heart is not too tired. Your energy is not too low. You are simply untrained. And training begins with one thing: doing what you said you would when you no longer feel like it. You may doubt. That's fine. You may feel tired. That's natural. You may lose motivation, that's expected. But none of those things remove your responsibility to keep going. You are no longer operating on preference. You are operating on principle. You are no longer chasing feelings. You are enforcing standards. You are no longer trying to impress. You are proving to yourself what you're made of. That is your work now. To continue when it doesn't make sense. To press forward when logic says pause. To finish what you start. Not because you have to, but because you said you would. And that's who you are now. A man of decision. A man of discipline. A man of force. You will be misunderstood. You will be doubted. You will be underestimated. But none of that matters. Because you are not here for approval, you are here for completion. You are not here for applause. You are here for alignment. You are not here to be celebrated. You are here to be transformed. And transformation, my friend, does not happen in comfort. It happens in fire. And if you walk through that fire, if you stay in the fight, if you refuse to step back when everything says give up, you will emerge as something new. You will no longer wonder if you have what it takes. You will know you do, because you earned it. Not once, but every day you refused to quit. Every day you chose to build instead of break. Every day you silenced the weaker voice inside of you. You didn't run. You didn't fold. You didn't explain. You just kept walking. And because you kept walking, the reward became inevitable. Not luck, not chance, not destiny, law. The law of the man who does not stop. You are now that man. You are not what you feel. You are what you do. You are not how you start. You are how you finish. And the finish line? It belongs only to those who forced themselves to reach it. Everything in this universe is created twice. First in the mind, and then in reality. And the mind of man, when properly trained, focused, and inspired, becomes the birthplace of all great wealth. The road to financial abundance, true and lasting, never begins with the pursuit of money. It begins with the formation of a crystal clear vision. A vision so bold, so purposeful, so commanding that the very pursuit of it organizes the world around you. Money, opportunity, resources, and people will always follow a man with a powerful and unwavering vision. You must understand with deep conviction that wealth is not a cause. It is an effect. The cause is always internal. The cause is clarity. The cause is belief. The cause is definiteness of purpose. When a man commits to a great and worthy vision, when he sees it not only with the eyes of hope but with the eyes of certainty, he begins to send out a magnetic vibration into the world. That vibration pulls all things toward it that are required for the fulfillment of that vision. And here lies the first principle. You must master the vision before you ever concern yourself with the money. For the man who chases money without vision is like a ship without a rudder. He moves but never arrives. He may gather some coins, but he will lose them just as fast. He may earn for a moment, but he cannot sustain it. Why? Because he never created the internal structure, the vision that gives wealth its rightful foundation. Vision is the ability to hold in your mind an idea of the future so vivid, so emotionally charged, that it dominates your thinking, your planning, your actions, and ultimately your identity. It is not mere wishing. It is not daydreaming. It is deliberate, calculated, and forged in the heat of desire. A vision is born when a man becomes dissatisfied with mediocrity, when he sees even faintly what he could become and makes a solemn vow to move toward it with all the power within him. This vision must be definite. The mind thrives on specificity. It cannot build castles in fog. It must have form, dimension, and purpose. What do you want to build? What do you want to create? What is the impact you desire to make? What is the life you are committed to living? Write it, see it, refine it, make it so clear that you could describe it in detail to a stranger and they would feel your conviction. Once the vision is defined, it must become the focus of your mental life. This is not a one-time act. This is a discipline. Each morning upon waking, your mind must turn toward your vision before it turns toward the world. Each evening before sleep, your last thoughts must not be of problems or gossip or regret, but of the life you are building. See it again, see it better. Sharpen the picture. The subconscious mind is the great builder. It acts upon whatever idea you consistently feed it. If you feed it fear, it will create hesitation. If you feed it limitation, it will construct walls. But if you feed it a vision of wealth, purpose, and power, it will work day and night without rest to bring that vision into your reality. The world you see outside of you is nothing more than the result of what you've allowed inside of you. Change the vision, and you change the result. The second principle is belief. A vision without belief is a fantasy. It might excite you for a day, but it will abandon you when difficulty comes. You must not only see your vision, you must believe it is already yours. You must believe without doubt that what you have imagined can and will be realized, and this belief cannot be passive. It must be emotional. It must burn within you with such heat that it melts away all resistance. How do you develop belief? Through repetition, through affirmation, through aligned action. You do not wait for evidence, you create evidence. Each time you act in accordance with your vision, you reinforce belief. Each time you resist the pull of distraction and choose purpose, you reinforce belief. Belief is not something you have, it is something you build. You construct it like a muscle, and the more you use it, the stronger it becomes. Now understand this, the man with a great vision and great belief becomes a force. He is no longer driven by the conditions around him, he creates the conditions. He does not seek approval, he seeks alignment. He does not beg for opportunity, he prepares himself for it. And when it comes, he recognizes it, because it matches the vision he's been holding all along. Money is not magical, it is obedient. It flows to the man who has made himself ready. It is attracted to value, and value is created by vision. When your mind is fixed upon a goal so definite, so meaningful, so powerfully imagined, you will begin to see ways to serve, to build, to solve problems, to lead. And in that, money will flow, not because you chased it, but because you created the conditions in which it thrives. There is no scarcity of money in the world. There is only scarcity of vision. The man who lacks vision will always say, there is not enough. The man who has vision will say, I will create more. The world bends to the man who sees further than his circumstances. He does not ignore reality, he transforms it. He uses what is to build what could be. And now comes the third principle, action. No vision, no matter how beautiful, can manifest without action. You must move, you must act. You must bring the idea from the spiritual into the physical. Vision is the blueprint. Belief is the fuel. And action is the builder. Without action, your mind grows weak, your belief withers, and your vision fades. But with action, each step becomes a signal to your subconscious mind. This is real, this is happening, this is who I am. Do not wait for permission. Do not wait for perfection. Begin with what you have. Move forward with faith. Each day, do something, anything that brings you closer to your vision. Make the call. Write the words. Build the system. Learn the skill. Action creates momentum, and momentum creates clarity. You do not wait until you are ready. You become ready through action. Let me be clear. You do not need to know every step. You only need to know the next step. The man who tries to predict every obstacle will never begin. But the man who trusts his vision and acts with boldness will find that the next step appears as he takes the first. Life favors the mover, the doer. The man who proves through effort that he is serious about his goal. Discipline is the currency you pay to see your vision become reality. Discipline in thought. Discipline in schedule. Discipline in habits. Your vision must be more important than your mood, more important than your distractions, more important than your fears. Each time you choose discipline, you are voting for your future. You are declaring to the universe that you are not merely interested, you are committed. Guard your mind. Feed it daily with truth, power, and direction. Avoid the voices of those who do not believe, who mock vision, who bow to fear. They are not your enemies, they are simply not your guides. Let them go. Surround yourself with those who think boldly, who live intentionally, who support growth. You need not explain your vision to everyone, but you must protect it from everything. Keep a journal. Write your vision daily. Reflect on your progress. Document your wins. Note your lessons. This habit creates awareness. It keeps the vision alive. It reminds you when challenges come why you began. And when you feel doubt creeping in, read your past entries. Let them prove to your own mind that growth is happening. Visualize often, not just occasionally, not just when it feels good. Make visualization a habit as natural as breathing. Close your eyes. See the life you are creating. See the wealth flowing. See the people being served. See the strength in your eyes. Feel the gratitude. Feel the peace. Let this become your emotional home. For the more time you spend in that vibration, the faster your outer world will match your inner state. This is the law of cause and effect, of sowing and reaping, of mind and matter. You are not at the mercy of chance. You are not a victim of your circumstances. You are a creator, a visionary. And the tools you need, vision, belief, and action, are already within you. The man who lives by vision walks with power. He sees what others cannot, and because of this, he builds what others will never touch. He does not wait for the world to hand him a plan. He becomes the plan. He does not wait for the tides of fortune to lift him. He becomes the tide. The man who holds to a vision with persistence, boldness, and emotional intensity calls upon a higher order of reality, one that reshapes conditions to fit his thoughts. That is the power you possess. But only if you believe enough to act, and act enough to become. Vision must move from an idea into identity. It must go from something you hope to experience into something you expect to experience. There is a great chasm between desire and conviction. Many desire success, but few expect it. And this single difference in mindset is the great separator of lives. The man who expects success sees setbacks as signals, not stops. The man who expects wealth does not panic when the fruit has not yet appeared. He tends to the root. The man who expects abundance does not question the law when the harvest is delayed. He trusts the process because he has mastered the vision. You must speak the vision not only in private, but in your decisions. Let every choice you make reflect the man you are becoming, not the man you used to be. Let your habits align with the future you hold in your mind. Ask yourself with everything, does this serve the vision or does it serve distraction? That single filter will eliminate most waste from your life. Your time, your energy, your words, your associations, all must be governed by the vision. You are building a temple. Do not lay bricks with the hands of doubt. What you tolerate, you live with. If you tolerate laziness, disorder, or small thinking, your results will mirror that standard. But if you demand from yourself discipline, clarity, and courage, your results must eventually rise to meet your identity. Do not lower the vision to match your mood. Raise your mood to match your vision. The standard is sacred. Do not break it. When you commit to a vision and reinforce it daily, a shift occurs. You begin to think like the man who already lives that life. Your thoughts are no longer scattered, they are strategic. Your speech becomes intentional. Your schedule becomes purposeful. You are no longer surviving, you are creating. And creation is the highest expression of your power. The world responds to the man who knows where he is going. Opportunity has a strange way of appearing for the man who moves with decisiveness. Others begin to trust his direction. Ideas seem to find him. Resources are drawn to him. Not because of luck, but because of alignment. When thought, emotion, and behavior move in one direction with unwavering focus, the universe responds. Let me make this clear. Your external life is nothing more than a mirror of your internal commitments. If the mirror reflects chaos, it is not the mirror that must be fixed, it is the man who must look within and reassert his intention. The clearer your internal world, the more orderly your external world becomes. Your finances, your relationships, your opportunities all respond to the quality and clarity of your inner dialogue. You must guard this dialogue. You must feed your mind with truth, with greatness, with the stories and teachings that build belief. Starve your doubts. Do not feed them with conversation, with complaint, with comparison. Each time you entertain doubt, you water the weeds of failure. But each time you speak your vision with conviction, you nourish the seeds of greatness. Build rituals around your vision. Habits are the scaffolding of results. Rise at the same hour each day. Begin with silence, visualization, and written affirmation. Remind your subconscious mind of who you are and where you are going. This is not for show, it is for structure. A man without structure drifts. A man with structure builds. Write your vision again and again. Each word you write is a stroke of instruction to your subconscious. It says, this is who I am becoming, this is where I am going, this is what is being built, and nothing will stop it. And the subconscious, obedient to repetition and emotion, begins to rewire your identity. It shifts your perception. It influences your decisions. And most importantly, it begins to call into your life the circumstances necessary for its fulfillment. Speak less of what is and more of what shall be. Let your words prophesy your future. Speak as though the vision is already yours, for that is how belief is formed. Say to yourself daily, I am the architect of my life. I see clearly. I build daily. I attract wealth because I serve with excellence. I am focused. I am disciplined. I am unstoppable. Say these things not because they are yet fully true, but because they are becoming true. You are not lying to yourself, you are leading yourself. You must also develop the habit of calm. A man with vision must not be shaken by temporary appearances. He knows that storms pass. He knows that resistance strengthens. He knows that adversity is the gymnasium of the soul. And so, he does not panic. He pauses, recalibrates, and proceeds. He walks by faith, not by sight. His inner world remains still, even when the outer world is loud. Patience is a virtue not because it delays progress, but because it deepens roots. Vision, when truly believed, does not demand immediate proof. It trusts timing. It continues building even when the world has not yet noticed. The man of vision does not need applause to stay motivated. He is driven by internal purpose, not external approval. This is where many fall short. They begin with vision but abandon it when the results take time. They forget that the seed must stay buried before it bursts forth. They dig it up too early. They doubt the soil. They walk away just before the miracle. Do not be that man. Hold the line. Trust the law. Stay consistent. Consistency is the mark of mastery. It is not occasional intensity that builds empires. It is daily commitment. Day after day, you must show up to the vision, to the plan, to the process. It may not be glamorous. It may not be exciting, but it is effective. The man who outlasts his doubt becomes the man who outruns his competition. Let the vision become your obsession, not in an unhealthy way, but in a way that organizes your life around purpose. Let it guide your choices. Let it fuel your mornings. Let it discipline your evenings. Let it become your measure for what matters. You cannot serve the vision casually. You must serve it completely. And remember this, vision without execution is hallucination. You must take the steps. You must do the work. You must carry the weight. No one else can walk your path. No one else can think your thoughts. No one else can do your push-ups. You are responsible entirely, fully, without excuse. But this is good news. For it means your future is not dependent on anyone's permission. It is not subject to anyone's approval. You do not need a vote. You need a vision and the discipline to serve it every day without fail. You must also anchor your vision to a reason greater than yourself. Money is a fine goal, but it is not a worthy master. Let your vision be tied to service, to contribution, to the impact you will make. When the goal becomes not only to earn, but to uplift, not only to gain, but to grow others, then you tap into an energy that never runs out. Money follows service. Influence follows integrity. Success follows alignment. So ask yourself, why must I realize this vision? Who will benefit? What will change? Why is this worth fighting for? Let the answers light a fire in your soul. Let them become your fuel on the hard days. Let them remind you that this is not just about income, it is about identity. It is not just about lifestyle, it is about legacy. Refuse to shrink. The world needs men who see clearly, speak boldly, and act decisively. The world needs builders of vision, not victims of circumstance. Be one of the few. Stand tall in your conviction. Hold fast to your belief. Act with unwavering faith. And when you fall, as all men do, rise quickly, dust off the doubt, reassert the vision, and take the next step. You were not born to wander, you were born to lead. You were not born to settle, you were born to rise. And your vision, rightly formed and relentlessly pursued, is the vehicle of your elevation. Do not wait. Do not doubt. Do not delay. Begin again today with full force, full fire, and full commitment. There comes a time in the life of every man when he must decide fully, irrevocably, who he will be and what he will build. Vision is not for the faint-hearted. It is for the man who is tired of waiting, tired of wandering, tired of watching others live with purpose while he drowns in distraction. A man without a vision is like a candle without flame, present but unlit. But the man who dares to dream with clarity, who defines his destiny and moves toward it with daily commitment, he becomes the flame. And all who come near him feel the heat of his purpose. But vision alone is not the end game. Vision must be translated into personal power. It must express itself in your habits, in your tone, in your very presence. The man who holds a vision long enough becomes that vision. His character changes. His decisions sharpen. His confidence rises, not because of outside validation, but because he has seen the end before the beginning, and he walks with the knowledge that it is already his. You must begin to feel wealthy before you ever touch the money. You must carry yourself as a man of purpose before the world calls you one. You must think with clarity before the fog lifts. That is the paradox. The world will mirror your mind, but only once your mind has committed to its image. Do not wait to see it. Speak it, believe it, be it. And now I will tell you the greatest truth most never understand. Money follows the man who follows the vision. It does not lead, it follows. It is not the starting point, it is the result. It flows to the one who serves with excellence, who builds with courage, who speaks with conviction. Money, like a shadow, follows a man who walks in light, but turn to chase it, and it vanishes. Do not chase money, chase mastery. Master your mindset. Master your craft. Master your decisions. Master your vision. And the money will come, because the market rewards precision. It rewards problem solving. It rewards men who are consistent when others are confused. It rewards the mind that sees clearly when others are clouded with doubt. Build the inner before you demand the outer. Wealth, properly understood, is a reflection. It reflects how you think, how you speak, how you act. Do you honor your commitments? Do you manage your time? Do you protect your energy? Are you excellent in the small things? These are not small questions. They are the gatekeepers of increase. The man who cannot lead himself will never lead a business. The man who cannot order his own thinking will never order a fortune. Your outer chaos is a mirror of your inner disorder. You must bring yourself into alignment mentally, emotionally, spiritually, if you want wealth to find a place in your life. Otherwise, it will come and go like water in broken hands. What you respect, you attract. And what you neglect, you repel. If you complain about money, if you speak of lack, if you criticize wealth, you are pushing away the very thing you say you desire. That is a contradiction. You cannot hate what you hope to have. You cannot condemn success and expect to achieve it. Clean up your language, clean up your thinking. Speak only that which supports your future. Words are seeds. Plant wisely. Understand, too, that money amplifies the man. It reveals, not conceals. It does not change your character, it shows it. If you are greedy without it, you will be more greedy with it. If you are generous, you will give more. If you are fearful, you will worry, even as the balance rises. So do not seek to get rich. Seek to become rich in character first. The external will reflect the internal, always. Hold yourself to a new standard. If you want more, you must become more. The vision demands it. It will stretch you. It will expose your weakness, reveal your habits, test your will. But it will also awaken your power. It will draw out your potential. It will force you to rise. The vision is not just about achieving something, it's about becoming someone. You must now begin to think like a builder of legacy. This is not about a temporary high. This is about building a structure that stands. When others fade, you remain. When others fold, you fortify. You are not a tourist in success. You are a permanent resident. You think long. You plan deep. You act with precision. You must treat your time like gold, your thoughts like currency, your focus like fire. These are your real assets. Protect them, multiply them, use them to invest in the habits that serve your future. Every distraction is a tax. Every wasted hour is a withdrawal from your destiny. Be ruthless with your energy. You are here to build. And what are you building? A life of value, of influence, of freedom, of wealth, in all forms, mental, spiritual, financial. But this life must be constructed with the blueprints of vision. Without the plan, the materials are scattered. Without the purpose, the motion is meaningless. Do not mistake activity for advancement. Many are busy, but going nowhere. The man with vision moves slowly, intentionally, powerfully. Create your environment. Do not live by default. Where you live, what you read, who you speak to, what you allow, this is the soil in which your results grow. Do not expect fruit from poisoned ground. Your space must speak your future. Your routine must reflect your purpose. Your associations must reinforce your belief. Everything must be built around the vision. Let others waste time. Let others gossip. Let others drift, but not you. You are not common. You are not casual. You are a man on a mission. You carry a fire within you, and the world will not extinguish it. You are no longer waiting. You are no longer hoping. You are creating. You are commanding. You are becoming. Each morning is your rebirth. Wake with power. Command the day. Speak your intention, write your goal, see your vision, take aligned action. This is the rhythm of the Creator. This is the cadence of the man who bends reality. This is the secret. There is no secret. Only clarity, repetition, action, and belief. If you master these, the world bends. Stay calm under pressure. Stay patient under delay. Stay strong under attack. Not because it's easy, but because your vision is worth it. The man with a weak vision quits at the first sign of struggle, but the man whose vision burns within him cannot be moved. He may bend, but he will not break. He may fall, but he will rise stronger. Hold to your vision, even when it seems distant, even when the numbers are low, even when no one claps, especially then. That is where most quit. That is where you must dig deeper. The soil resists before it releases, but it will release, it must. That is the law. You cannot plant faithfully and not reap eventually. It is not a question of if, it is a question of when. And when the money comes, and it will not surprise you, because you've been living the result in your mind for months, perhaps years. You've seen it every morning. You've walked with it in your imagination. You've acted like it already was, and so when it arrives, it feels normal, natural, expected. That is the sign you were ready. Then comes the new responsibility, stewardship. Use your wealth to create more value. Use it to build systems, to free your time, to deepen your impact, to protect your energy. Wealth is not for hoarding, it is for multiplying. Multiply in purpose. Multiply in good. Multiply in legacy. You are now becoming the man who not only attracts wealth but sustains it, who not only reaches a goal but expands it, who not only wins once but wins continually, not by luck, not by shortcut, but by principle, by law, by intention. And that brings us full circle. It was never about the money. It was about the man who saw, the man who believed, the man who acted, the man who held the line when others let go, the man who honored the vision until the vision honored him. Let this be your truth now. You are that man. You are building by vision. You are led by clarity. You are governed by purpose. And because of that, because you have mastered the vision, the money must follow.